Hello, everyone. The season finale of The Mandalorian Season 2 was yesterday, so I wanted to give my review of it today. Uh, just a quick spoiler free review. I thought it was really good. I thought it was, the highs were higher than Season 1. It wasn't as consistently good throughout as Season 1 was, but the second half of it just got to greater heights than I think even Season 1 ever got to. So from here on out, there's going to be some spoilers. Uh, Firstly, I think the cinematography, music, visual effects, production design, costumes, stuff like that, they were all the technical side of things were consistently good in every episode. So let's go through each episode and talk about what I liked and didn't like in regards of the story and the characters in them. Uh, And if any of the technical stuff really stood out as being good, I'll mention that. Or bad, I'll mention it. Chapter 9, The Marshal. Starting with the season starter was really good. I thought it was exciting, a lot of action. Um, the bad from it was some of the characters and like the acting for them I thought was a little bit cheesy. Um, and like the line delivery wasn't the best. In particular, Amy Sedaris's character returned from season one, and in season one, I didn't like her at all. Um, and though I would say she improved in this season, I don't think it was that much of an improvement. Um, and then also, for some longtime fans, there might be some issues with this episode. People who have taken in expanded universe material in the past might have some issues with it. There's a crate dragon in this episode that maybe doesn't match up with what has been shown in like previous video games and books and stuff like that. Uh, they just wanted to go a different direction with them, and I like what they did with it. It's just very different from however they've been shown in the past. And also the character Cobb Vanth. Um, he was a minor character in the book Star Wars Aftermath, and I don't think his portrayal on screen quite matched up to how he was written in the books. But he was such a minor character that there wasn't a whole lot to go off of, so I could see why they would change him a bit. As for the good, though, uh, the opening sequence where Mando was getting information from Gor Koresh, played by John Leguizamo, that was an entertaining scene. Great way to start off the season. And then I really liked that they showed the Tusken Raiders and we got to see a little bit more of their culture. And then the end battle with the Crate Dragon was really awesome. It felt like something out of a sci-fi monster movie. And then the just the way it was shot was awesome. I really liked Jon Favreau's direction for this. You could tell his influence from like the Iron Man movies was being applied to this episode. And then lastly, at the very end of the episode, we got to see Tamara Morrison. Uh, you'd assume he's playing Boba Fett. He could have been playing a clone trooper, but we'll later find out that it is Boba Fett. Overall, this episode's a lot of fun, and it got me really excited for the entire season. I'll give it a rating of an 8 out of 10. Chapter 10, The Passenger. This episode might be my least favorite in the entire season. It feels like a big distraction from the story, and everything in it could be skipped, and you wouldn't really miss out on that much. The only new things really are that the Razor Crest gets damaged, and that carries into the next episode, and the new character, the Frog Lady, is introduced. But those are two things that could have easily been put at the start of the next episode, and we wouldn't have to have this whole other storyline. Not to say that this story is bad, though. I think on its own it stands out, but just in the middle of the greater Mandalorian story, it just feels like it doesn't add much. Um, Some of my other problems with this episode were the frog lady herself. Just felt kind of like a lazy character. It was a frog species. Her species is called Frog. She doesn't have a name. She's just referred to as the Frog Lady, and she speaks the language Frog. Just kind of felt like they were phoning it in. Not that there's anything wrong with taking influence from a frog to create a new species. Yoda is basically that already, but just would have been nice to see a little bit more creativity with that. Um, and then there's also some logical issues surrounding her character. If her species can only survive on the planet Trask, and they can only their eggs are so fragile they can't really survive out in space. Like, why was she even on Tatooine in the first place? Like, I'm sure they could give an explanation to that, but they didn't in the episode, and so that was a little bit weird. But as for the good in this episode, I really like the way everything was like designed in it. The idea of having like this ice planet with like all this these ice spiders was really cool, and everything in it was awesome. It reminded me of like sci-fi horror, like Aliens or The Thing. There was a lot of really cool stuff in there. Like the whole action sequences were just like really well done. The only issues I have with it are story related mainly, and the one character. And the whole look of it was based off of old Ralph McQuarrie concept art from Empire Strikes Back, and it just looked really great. Uh, Overall, this works as a standalone, but it kind of drags on the entire season. I'll give this one a rating of a 6 out of 10. Chapter 11, The Heiress. I don't have many issues with this episode, just that it was too short. Everything just kind of happens really quickly, and it could have used another scene or two of Mando and the Mandalorians getting to know each other better, and like I think that could have had more of an impact on their relationship. And I think also for people who aren't big fans of the external Star Wars universe or expanded universe, the impact of seeing Bo-Katan or Ahsoka's name drop won't be that strong for them. They'll probably just say like, "Oh, this just like another Mandalorian." But as for the good, there's so much to like here. I really like the performances Bryce Dallas Howard managed to get out of the cast in this episode. In particular, Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan. She voiced the character in the cartoons, and she looks so much like the character. She's the perfect fit to play her in live action as well. I also really liked the Imperial captain played by Titus Welliver. I thought he really did a good job of playing like a menacing, loyal to the cause Imperial officer, like the classic Empire officer. And then I also really liked the costume design for Bo-Katan's armor. They perfectly translated it from the cartoons to live action. Overall, this episode is a bit too short and a bit too fan servicey, but being a fan, I really loved it. I give this one a rating of 8.5 out of 10. Chapter 12, The Siege. This episode doesn't have too much I don't like. My major complaints come from the character Cara Dune, played by Gina Carano. In the first season, I really enjoyed her, but I felt like she wasn't delivering her lines very well. It seemed very stiff in this episode. And on top of that, since last season, a lot has come out about her being, an anti-masker and a heavy Trump supporter. And while I don't think that should make her lose her job or anything, it doesn't help me to like her anymore. Other than that, my only complaint would be that this episode, like episode 2, feels a bit like a distraction from the main story, though not as much as episode 2 was. The best parts of this episode would be Carl Weathers' return as Greef Karga. He was great in the first season, and I thought he was even better in this season. And that might be because he was directing himself. Um, he knew exactly what he wanted to do with the character, I guess. And I thought, other than Gina Carano, he got good performances out of the other actors as well, like Horatio Sands returning as Mithril. I thought he was way better this time around than in the first season. And this whole episode just had like that classic Star Wars feel to it. Like the action in it felt like Return of the Jedi when they're doing like the Battle of Endor and invading the Imperial base there. This whole episode had that kind of feel to it. Overall, I'd say it's a solid episode with some good and some bad. I'll give it a rating of a 7 out of 10. Chapter 13, The Jedi. The only things I can think of to complain about this episode are Michael Bihn's character, Lang. I didn't fully buy into him. He's not that it was a bad character, it just he felt kind of out of place. And I also think that Ahsoka's reasoning for not wanting to train Grogu, I don't think it really matched up with what we've seen from her in the past, though it's been a few years since we would have last seen her in canon, so it's reasonable to believe that she would have changed her opinions. I just would have thought that her having witnessed what attachments can do to a Jedi would make her want even more to train him to make sure that he doesn't go down a dark path. This episode was directed by Dave Filoni, the creator of the Clone Wars and Rebels cartoons, and this is the best direction I think he's ever done. He created Ahsoka, so of course he wanted to handle her episode, and I think he did a good job of it. Rosario Dawson was a perfect choice for playing Ahsoka in live action. She was awesome to see in it. Getting a name for the child being Grogu, I thought was a perfect fit for a Star Wars-esque name. I also liked the sequences with Ahsoka in combat. I thought like that one sequence where they kept flashing in and out of darkness with her lightsabers looked awesome. And then her fight with the magistrate using the Beskar spear was really cool too. And the whole episode had a Japanese samurai's feel to it, which I think is a good fit with Ahsoka. Overall, a really well directed episode with very little to dislike. I give this one a rating of 9 out of 10. Chapter 14, The Tragedy. I've got nothing bad to say about this episode. I don't even know where to begin with the good with it, though. There's like so much is good in it. Tamara Morrison was back in full force as Boba Fett. And then they also brought Ming-Na Wen back as Fennec Shand. And I thought she was really cool in the first season, but kind of underused, so I was really happy to see her back now. And then the entire sequence with Fett and Shand fighting off the stormtroopers was so awesome, really entertaining, and it perfectly showcased why Boba Fett is the deadliest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Even before he got his armor back, he was already being shown as like a horror movie villain or slasher film. And I think Robert Rodriguez's directing, he kind of brought over some of his tricks from the Machete series to show Boba Fett as being this deadly person. And then once he got his armor back, there was no chance for the Imperials at that point. He was a one-man army. I thought the appearance of the Dark Troopers was really cool. It worked really, really well to match up with the older designs and what I had in mind for them from past experience with them in video games and books. Overall, just an amazing portrayal of one of the best characters in all of Star Wars. I give this episode a 10 out of 10. Chapter 15, The Believer. This episode slightly kills the momentum, but it's only a minor distraction, and otherwise it's a really good episode. Bill Burr returned as Miggs Mayfield. I was slightly concerned because I thought in the first season, yeah, he was a fun cameo, but I didn't really think much more of him. And he showed here that he can really be a good actor. He did like a phenomenal job in this episode. And I thought that Gina Carano was a lot better in this episode. Pairing her with Fennec Shan was a great choice. They work really well off each other. And even better, I thought Mayfield and Mando played off each other really well. They were like an old, like classic comedic duo, with Mayfield being kind of the wackier, zanier one, and Mando being the straight man to play off of. The episode does a really good job of showcasing the villainy of the Empire, and getting Richard Brake to play the Imperial officer was just a perfect choice because he's so good at playing villains. Like him as Joe Chill in Batman Begins, and the Night King at the start of uh, Game of Thrones. Like he's just one of those people you just love to hate. Then to top it all off, we got the best sound effect in all of films, the sonic charge from the bombs in the Slave One. Like so perfect when Boba Fett used it to destroy the TIE fighters. It was really cool. Overall, this episode's a slight distraction, but otherwise really awesome. I give it a rating of 9 out of 10. Chapter 16, The Rescue. This is another episode I have no complaints about. What a way to finish off the entire season. Like, the crew is assembled, they're all awesome. Mando, Boba, Fennec, Bo-Katan, Koska, and Cara all going to save Grogu from Moff Gideon. There's a lot of really awesome action sequences with Fennec, Bo-Katan, Koska, and Cara taking out the bridge officers on the Imperial cruiser. And Mando getting a one-on-one fight with a Dark Trooper, and then another one with Gideon. The fight with the Dark Trooper was really cool. I thought that they made them seem so menacing. And that one shot where Mando tries to put it on fire, and it just like is resistant to the fire, and it's just got flames coming out of its helmet. It looked really cool. Maybe the best shot they've had in The Mandalorian. And then the fight with Gideon was really cool, using the Beskar steel against the Darksaber. That was really awesome. The effects on that I thought really looked cool. And just seeing Pedro Pascal wielding a spear again after Game of Thrones when he wielded one was kind of a neat nod. I don't know if they were doing that on purpose, but it worked for me. And then at the end, getting to see Luke again come back and save them, and then take Grogu for training. That was so awesome. Giving him basically like the Darth Vader hallway scene from Rogue One. They basically gave him his own version of that. That was really cool. And then we got to see R2-D2, which was a complete surprise because like Luke, I kind of had suspicions he might show up. I knew there was going to be some Jedi showing up, and there's just not that many that it could have been. There's like Luke and like Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order, and like maybe Mace Windu, but Luke seemed like the best fit for that, and getting to see him was awesome. Like it was obvious they were trying to hide his face throughout, but then once they did show him, I thought the effects looked really good for making him look younger. Especially when he was first revealed. A bit when he was talking, his face looked a little too smooth, and it made him look younger than he should have been at the time. But otherwise, I thought it looked really good. And then at the very end, post-credits, we got to see Boba Fett return to Jabba's palace and kill Bib Fortuna. And they had like a little reference to the new meme that's been going on with Star Wars, where like the Greedo and Han Solo shot first type thing. Their most recent edit to that has been adding Greedo saying McClunky just before he gets shot. And they had Bib say McClunky just before Boba shoots him. So that was a pretty funny reference. I'm not sure if too many people picked up on that. But then they revealed that the book of Boba Fett is going to be coming out. And I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, if it's supposed to be a series that goes along with like the Mandalorian and the Ahsoka series, like that's going to be cool. But even if it's just like a book, like that's pretty awesome. Overall, this was an amazing episode. I give it an 11 out of 10. This season had a bit of a rocky start, but once it got going, it was just soaring high. Uh, I don't think casual fans will like it as much as the first season, but big Star Wars fans are going to love it. There's a lot of fan service here in this season, and me being a big fan, I loved it all the more. Uh, so I'm looking forward to the next season and all of the new things coming out, and thank you for watching.